I'm Becky and I'm a PhD student at Victoria University. I got to do a PhD at Vic because when I was studying my undergrad in the UK, I did a topic called the fear of happiness, and there was only one guy that did the fear of happiness in New Zealand. So I decided, New Zealand might be a good idea, and I moved to New Zealand in 2015. Originally, I wanted to start my PhD on a scholarship, but I found it quite difficult to secure a scholarship, so I decided it would be a good idea to work at the university and get experience so that I could have a better chance of getting the scholarship when I applied. And I did that, and I got the scholarship, so here I am. So a typical day in a PhD involves you working on your thesis. So your thesis covers over 3 years, so at the end you have to give this massive document of your research. There isn't really a daily routine as such. A PhD is more of a lifestyle than a 9 to 5 job. It's like a marathon. You go through weeks that are really good and you go through weeks that are really hard. When you do a PhD as well, it's very much you are your own manager. So I do my work with my supervisor, but other than that, I can manage my time. So in order to study a PhD, you have to make sure that at undergrad, you get above in the UK it was 65, so like a high B, to be taken into consideration for postgrad tuition. So normally you would do a master's before doing a PhD, but there are certain cases if you get a first class degree that you can skip out the master's and go straight onto the PhD. It just depends what's right for you, because I wouldn't say doing a PhD is better than getting a master's, because normally when you go for jobs, and they don't tell you this right at the start, a PhD and a master's are often kind of seen together. So you have to kind of consider which one would be right for you. The biggest thing that I enjoy doing a PhD would be the fact that I am in control of my own time and I can do something that I love. I'm studying emotion regulation in psychology and it's really interesting. It's all about people, it's something that I really enjoy. I've chosen that topic. When I'm doing work, it doesn't feel like work, but I suppose the biggest thing is that I'm in control of it, so I don't have anybody throwing work at me and saying, do this, get this done by then. It's my responsibility to get my work done, and it's a good feeling. It means you can be organised and you can get that done, and then with your spare time you can do anything you like. One of the things that I decided to do this year, I invested in an extracurricular activity. I've always danced. Dancing has been in my life since I was 2, so I found another dancer who I felt like I would work with really well, and actually it's been really successful. Earlier on this year, I actually got awarded a gold award for all of the work that I did with Dance Fusion, and I was so happy. I've never won an award. I think when you're at a university, it's really important to meet lots of people and find out about their stories and things like that, because it really helps you grow as a person. And I've really enjoyed doing something other than just academia, being in an office this year, and it's really helped me a lot. Well, the downsides of doing, actually it's quite funny, but my biggest downside of doing a PhD is the parking at uni. It's so bad. But yeah, no, other than that, I would say that the downsides are if you're surrounded by people that don't study, sometimes you feel like they don't understand. It's kind of the negative thing about doing a PhD, which actually I didn't realise until I did it, and that's that you feel like people think you do nothing, and you never hear about that, because normally when you first meet someone you go, oh, I'm doing a PhD, and they're like, ooh, and they're really impressed and they think it's this amazing thing. But if you are in close contact with the same person for a long time, sometimes you feel a bit judged. Maybe that's in my head, but I know that a lot of PhD students feel the way that I do as well. That's a really important question. You have to think about what you're going to do when you finish your PhD. I think in a short answer, I don't know, but I have an idea. So I work in positive psychology, and I'd quite like to go into corporate, tackle it for at least a year. If it doesn't work out, then I will probably work in academia, and I'll try and go down the lecturing route or the publishing route. But I think initially after my PhD, I think I'll be looking at people's happiness within the workplace. I think my biggest advice to someone doing a PhD is you really have to concentrate on what you're going to do a PhD in. Like, I didn't necessarily know where my PhD was going to go. I had the scholarship before I kind of knew that if you want to work in clinical, for example, you have to get a PhD that is in clinical psychology. And actually that was something I was very naive about when I invested, and maybe it's something I should have done. And also to actually open your eyes and embrace all of the opportunities that you have in the university when you do your PhD, because I've ended up impacting a lot of students and that's made me so much happier. And remember that when you're doing a PhD, that freedom that you get is not going to be forever. So actually just enjoy it, I would say as well.